and impressive mother. In choosing his management for his boxing career, he seems once again to have found a mirror image of that strong mother.
You can put this guy on the back if you put some punches together like that. If you put him on the back, if you put some punches together like you're doing now. You're giving it up in here. All right, show me here. Let's go out there and take over now. Hear me?
He was a virtual unknown as recently as 1990. But in 1991, James Lights Out Toney knocked out undefeated Michael Nunn to become IBF middleweight champion.
Middleweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney.
That same year, Toney took on Mike McCallum, and though the fight was ruled a draw, it was enough to warrant Toney's selection as Fighter of the Year.
I fight anywhere, anytime, because I know I'm the best middleweight in the world, and I'm willing to prove it against anybody.
1991 was a true success story for undefeated James Toney. And you know what they say, behind every successful man is a successful woman. That woman, largely responsible for Toney's transformation to middleweight champion, is Jackie Callan. After 14 years of studying boxing, Callan isn't exactly new to the sport. A former publicist for Tommy Hearns, Jackie decided to become a manager.
It was right there in front of me to be a manager. It just sort of presented itself. I thought I can do that. And once I made up my mind, I knew I wasn't going to quit till I had a world champion.
With Jackie in search of a world champion and James in search of a new manager, the timing couldn't have been better.
We met 3 years ago at the gym. At the time, she was managing another fighter.
We just started talking day by day, getting to know each other a little bit better. And it was just meant to be. I knew he could be a world champion. I think that he felt that I was the one to get him there.
We finally got everything together after a couple months. And ever since then, we've been together.
Being managed by a woman in a sport dominated by men is unconventional, but James declines to see it as a disadvantage.
If there is, I haven't seen her yet. She's hiding it real well. I haven't seen her. You know, she's on the phone constantly talking to promoters, different promoters, trying to get the best deals and everything, and she's done a good job.
Isn't that good? Having a world champion definitely helps my credibility. And I think that the things that I've done and the moves I've made are what got him to be world champion, aside from his obvious talent. So it's the kind of a relationship that which came first, the chicken or the egg. I think we really depend on each other.
When they're not working together in the gym, Jackie and James can most often be found together working toward more media exposure for the champ. The two are virtually inseparable, as Jackie oversees everything from Toney's diet to his daily schedule.
It's a mother-son relationship, you know, we do everything together. And it's like, her whole family is like my family. And my family is like her family. So, you know, we all get, it's a perfect gel.
I want James to continue growing as a person, to learn to control his temper better, to think of ways that he can invest his money, to think of what he wants to do when he's not boxing, because I'd like him to have not only money when he gets out of the sport, but another career to go into. James is more than just somebody that I work with. James is my friend. He's become a major part of my life.
Whether this unorthodox relationship is what catapulted Team Toney to the top in record time can never be substantiated. But it's a bond which these two aren't likely to soon relinquish. Jackie has shown that she's a lady to be reckoned with. And James, well, he's still the champ. And now we are back live as James Toney has made his way into the ring. 23 years old, won't be 24 until August 24 of this year. He won the first 20 professional bouts in his career. A draw with Sanderline Williams, the veteran, in 1990. The draw with Mike McCallum, overall record 29 wins, no losses, 2 draws. And Larry Merchant, if you like a guy who wants to be in the ring all the time, much the way Mike Tyson was early in his career, this is your man.
Well, he had a very brief amateur career, and he's catching up on his prize fighting as not only as a professional, but as a champion. This is his 6th time again. And there are very few champions throughout history who have fought more than 6 championship fights in 1 year. Among them, like fellas like Tony Canzoneri, Henry Armstrong, Joe Louis, Barney Ross, all back in the 30s.
And Toney is unlikely to have much trouble with governing bodies as long as he fights that often. Case in point, the IBF made this man, Glenn Wolfe, its #6 middleweight contender, although almost all of his fights have been down at 154 pounds in the junior middleweight class. 27 wins, 2 losses, a draw. The most recent fight was a loss in a title shot against Gianfranco Rossi of Italy in Italy last summer. 12-round decision in which Wolfe won only a round or two, although he did deck Rossi at one point in the fight. Tail of the tape, you will see that Glenn Wolfe is by far the taller fighter. We list him at 6 feet even. Actually, he's more like 6'1". Got a little bit of a reach advantage, but most of the other advantages here belong to James Toney, who is the natural middleweight, while Wolfe has been a natural 154-pounder. Punch that, Larry.
Here's a statistical profile of the fighters. I'm not sure what the stats mean in the case of Toney. One of the fights was that bad fight he had against Taberi when he had lost too much weight right before the fight. The other fight was against Michael Nunn when he lost most of the rounds until he knocked him out. Now let's take a look at the jabs. You see they're almost identical numbers. Both of them are hooking fighters who figure to fight most of the fight at close quarters.
And for the rules of the bout, our unofficial ringside scorer, Harold Letterman.
Jim, James Toney and Glenn Wolfe will fight tonight using the rules of the International Boxing Federation. 3 judges scoring the fight on a 10-point must system. No standing 8-count, Jim. No 3 knockdown rule. Only the referee can stop the fight, and you can be saved by the bell in the last round only. And Jim, remember, in the IBF, we don't go to the scorecards until after 6 rounds in case the fight is stopped on a cut caused by an accidental butt. 6 rounds.
Watch for headbutts. Both fighters like to work at close quarters. Right now, let's go up to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the pre-fight introductions.
Ladies and gentlemen, good evening and welcome to the Thomas and Mack Center here in Las Vegas, Nevada, where tonight Bob Arum's Top Rank Incorporated, in association with the famous Las Vegas Hilton Casino Hotel, along with the undisputed, undefeated King of Beer, Budweiser, presents World Championship Boxing for your entertainment. This bout is sanctioned by the Nevada State Athletic Commission and the International Boxing Federation. IBF President at ringside, Robert W. Lee. Supervisor for the IBF, Marion Muhammad. This bout will be scored on a 10-point must system, and the 3 judges assigned to that duty are Chuck Jampa, Doug Tucker, and Glenn Hamada. And once the bell rings, the man in charge of all the action, working for the 63rd time in a world title bout, is Mills Lane. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first of our featured bouts here tonight. So man your battle stations, 12 rounds of boxing for the IBF Middleweight Championship of the World. Introducing first, fighting out of the blue corner, wearing the royal blue trunks with gold trim. He weighed in at an even 160 pounds from Miami, Florida. He's ranked number 6 in the world, ladies and gentlemen, and brings a professional record of 27 victories. 24 by KO, only 2 defeats and 1 draw. Introducing the challenger, Glenn Big Bad Wolfe. And his opponent across the ring, fighting out of the red corner, wearing the white trunks with gold letters. He also weighs in at an even 160 pounds. He's from the Motor City, Detroit, Michigan. Undefeated as a professional, a record of 29 victories with 2 draws, 20 KOs. Ladies and gentlemen, the IBF middleweight champion of the world, James Lights Out Toney.
All right, now look, both of you. If he goes right here, I'm not going to call it low. If he goes right here, I'm not going to call it low. Okay, this is for the championship of the world. I expect a tough, clean fight. Protect yourself at all times. Any questions here? Any questions here? Let's get it on.
The only question here, presumably, is Toney's conditioning. He had to take off 7 pounds in the 2 days before his last fight, after he went on what turned out almost to be a too expensive cruise and stuffed his face until he got to 180 pounds.
Well, he sure did. And if Glenn Wolfe watched the tape of the Tiberi fight, he should have his forehead right in James Toney's chest all night long.
And Toney starts out with a boxing style, throwing the jab. He's already landed 1 right cross over the top of Glenn Wolfe's left hand. Glenn Wolfe will try to get inside soon. He told us yesterday, quote, "I don't like to box."
And you know, Jim, you mentioned that Toney is a natural middleweight. Actually, he said he wouldn't fight again at 160 pounds. But being the IBF champion, they weigh in the night before the fight. So right now, I would have to say that James Toney weighs about 168 pounds, and that should be to his advantage because Glenn Wolfe came up to make 160 pounds.
Glenn Wolfe is the kind of fighter who has to take his opportunities where he gets them. When he fought Gianfranco Rossi for the 154-pound title last summer, he had a gunshot wound in the hand just 4 months before. And he said the hand literally fell apart during the fight, but he couldn't have turned down the shot. It wasn't going to come again.
Well, that's always an old-time fight manager will say you never can turn down a title shot because anything can happen.
He says he got this chance because he was willing to fight for a lower paycheck than some of the other contenders.
Well, that means his manager has confidence in him. And I think we should watch out for James Toney's right hand over a lazy jab of Glenn Wolfe.
Through most of round one, Wolfe has been unable to get into close quarters the way he is now. But Toney now dispenses with boxing and leans against the ropes as he did for much of the Tiberi fight.
And that, in my eyes, cost him the fight. He got the decision, but I thought that they should have raised Tiberi's hand in that fight.
Good short right hand inside and by Toney.
Toney is showing some nice boxing ability, countering well. Here he spins Glenn Wolfe.
Well, that's one thing Toney likes to say about himself is that he is underestimated as a counterpuncher. Believes his boxing skills don't get enough recognition.
That's what Wolfe has to do. He has to double up that jab. Keep James Toney from throwing that right hand over it.
Toney ducking and slipping so far and effective with counterpunches. He landed another straight right in that exchange. Two uppercuts for Glenn Wolfe, and again Toney stations himself against the ropes.
Camping on the rope. I want you camping on the rope. You understand? You when you're camping on the rope, you're letting the guy hit you with shots that you ain't supposed to get hit with. Okay. Stay off of the rope. You're hitting him with a good right hand, but come back with the left hook behind that right hand. All right? Yep. And you make him miss, you make him pay.
Look here. When you're inside, do me a favor and throw that left uppercut, okay? Right. And go to the body move with this kid. Okay. Move the head coming in, go to the body, okay? Right. God bless you. You're doing real good, kid. All right? He's getting over with a right hand. He's looking to throw a right hand over your jab, okay? Let us out. Let's go.
Toney was a quarterback and a tight safety in high school in Ann Arbor, Michigan. The quarterback in him can fight a tactical fight here. The tight safety can fight a grueling close-in quarter fight. He's got both things if he uses them.
And the iconoclast in him used to root for the Ohio State Buckeyes whenever he could get into the stadium in Ann Arbor for the big game. You heard Al Banani, the trainer for Glenn Wolfe, urging him to throw the right hand over the jab, just as you mentioned, Gil.
And you can see Glenn Wolfe watch that Tiberi tape because he's right on Toney's chest. He's staying right there, keeping that forehead right underneath Toney's head, and that's where he has to keep it.
And as Toney stands against the ropes, could he be tiring already, Gil?
Well, it would seem very unusual for so early in the fight, but he's really not using his legs very much.
Keep in mind he had no legs in the on-paper victory over Tiberi. One boxing commentator for ABC called that decision disgusting and said it right in front of James Toney.
Well, I'm not sure what the adjective you can use for Toney's strategy here, but it doesn't seem very positive.
Unwise, disadvantageous. He is fighting Glenn Wolfe's fight for the moment. if it becomes a war of attrition, that's the kind of fight Glenn Wolfe likes.
James Toney is no slouch at that kind of fight either. Jim, remember the McCallum fight, how he had to pull it up, get the draw in the 12th round. And even in the Tiberi fight, as tired as he was still winging punches at the end of the fight.
He is indeed a game competitor. He's come from behind on a few occasions against Michael Nunn. Most people thought he lost the first 9 rounds, but he wins it with the knockout in the 11th. Glenn Wolfe landing a nice left hook, and now hooking to the body as once again he pushes Toney up against the ropes, and James Toney waits for a few seconds before beginning to move away. Right hand over the top by Toney. Wolfe stunned for a second. Toney comes alive. Uppercut inside by Toney, but at this kind of fight, Wolfe is likely to be the busier fighter. You saw the punch stat numbers that indicated he threw many more punches in round 1 than did James Toney. Round 2 comes to a close, and 2 weeks from tonight, HBO proudly presents another live special event. The HBO Comedy Hour, George Carlin live at the Paramount, a stand-up act from America's first and funniest counterculture spokesman. Join us for this exclusive performance on April 25, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern and Pacific times. George Carlin live at the Paramount. Right now, George Carlin, who's performing this week in Vegas, joins us live at ringside.
Hi,
Spend
Jim.
a lot of time ringside at boxing matches, George?
Only one I ever went to, I must say, I'm a casual fan. I saw Hearns and Leonard here in town a long time back.
Have you seen George Foreman in his
no, but I'm
tour?
rooting for the big cheeseburger, I tell you that. It's kind of a sentimental thing.
You make him a comedy threat to those of you who are earning a living in the business?
He sure knows how to handle it, yeah.
All right, George will be having a comedy special coming up later on himself. We're privileged to have George Carlin with us and really looking forward to the 25th. This is a big event for the network.
That's my hometown, live out of the Garden. I can't beat it.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Jim. I appreciate it.
George Carlin. April 25, live on HBO. We go to round 3 of IBF middleweight champion James Toney in the white trunks, defending his title against Glenn Wolfe in the blue.
Jim, if James Toney wants to make this an easy fight for himself, he had better start using his legs, giving himself a little punching room. I mean, he is by far the bigger man, and he may get the better of it inside, but it's tough inside. Stays outside like he's doing now, he can pick Glenn Wolfe apart, but he has to use those legs.
2 solid left hooks. Wolfe not firing back as Toney uses his superior hand speed from that range to take over for a moment. And now Wolfe pushes him back up against the ropes.
Well, Toney has the ability to box, and he showed us a brief flare. But why he doesn't keep it up, I mean, I really don't know whether he questions his own stamina or not.
Glenn, we've got Gil, we've got an 18-foot ring, relatively small, and the surface is extremely spongy, very much like a mattress. Will their legs tire more quickly?
That can certainly take a lot out of both fighters. But, you know, Jim, do I look like a welterweight to you that you call me Glenwood? Glenwood Brown, is that it?
I was thinking of Glenn Wolfe because to me you look like an inside fighter.
Oh, thank you, sir. That's about the only way I can do it now.
Wolfe lands a jab, one of the rare occasions when he's been able to sneak the jab across. And now Toney is momentarily rocked by a right hand.
Punch away free. Get your hand free.
I'm sure that this is not the kind of fight that Bill Miller would like James Toney to be fighting.
You think 6 championship fights in 1 year is too much in this day and age?
Well, you know, that McCallum fight, remember the Tiberi fight came right after the McCallum fight, and Toney was no ball of fire in that fight. Maybe that tough fight did take something out of him.
Well, he complains that he has had major league trouble getting down to 160 pounds and would prefer not to try to make this weight anymore. But his bigger money opportunities will be here.
When he decides to move and bring it to another dimension, he's really, really terrific in there, but he just doesn't do it often enough, 10, 15 seconds at a time.
Yeah, you see the dominance he's able to assert when he stands away from Wolfe and uses his superior boxing skill and hand speed. The uppercut landed, the left hook on the button, a jab, 2 more uppercuts. Big rally for James Toney. Wolfe lands a right in return.
But now, did that rally take anything out of James Toney? Now he takes time out again.
And we talked about the heart that James Toney has shown. Glenn Wolfe has had a very difficult career, 2 stints in prison, a lot of obstacles to overcome, and he's still around.
In the back that fucking mouthpiece, give it to him. Move his hands up. All right, look. Give me the water bottle. Water bottle to help. Listen. He's spinning it. And when he's spinning, he flurries. Let me see your lap. When he spins, he flurries.
Let's take a look at Toney when he is an altogether different fighter, showing very fast hands, hitting very solid punches, and throwing combinations. Lefts, rights, downstairs and upstairs.
Here, get this down. Let me give him some water, Mike. That's enough.
Here it is again. Good straight right hand. Moves out of the way. Comes back.
That's enough, Mike. Mike. Let's go.
If you've just joined us on HBO, we welcome you live to Las Vegas, where James Toney in the white trunks is defending his IBF middleweight championship against Glenn Wolfe of Miami in the blue trunks there in round number 4. Tactical bout in which so far Toney has seemed unwilling to sustain long stretches of fighting his best style and has had to try to fend off Wolfe inside against the ropes, perhaps all too frequently for his trainer's taste.
I'm sure that Phil Miller would like him to stay in the center of the ring, keep a little distance between him and Wolfe, as he's doing now. That's when he can pick Wolfe apart.
And again, Wolfe is stunned by the left uppercut, the right cross, another right lands. Toney knows he's got him in trouble and chases him into the corner. Wolfe not firing back, though he got in a left that stemmed the momentum. And now Toney again seems to run out again.
He seemed to have hurt Toney with that one right hand.
Yes, he threw a right hand out there through that barrage and may have stopped him momentarily, or more than momentarily here.
So Glenn Wolfe shows you his resiliency.
He's never been down.
Well,
Wolfe.
One of the major factors that I've seen thus far in the fight is the fact that Glenn Wolfe has always been a junior middleweight. He just doesn't seem to have the punching power of a good, solid middleweight.
Good point, Larry. Glenn Wolfe has never been on the canvas. Toney, as you saw in our pre-fight feature, was decked by Reggie Johnson in title defense number 1. Right hand over the top by Wolfe. And a left uppercut.
Wolfe is really punishing James Toney at the moment. Now we can look for Toney to rally back any minute now, and here he comes. Must have read his mind, Larry. James, oh, excuse me, Jim.
Either way, back in the center of the ring, and they are into James Toney's office again. This is an office-to-office warfare. They go from Toney's area, which is here, into the corners and onto the ropes where Glenn Wolfe holds command. But now Toney using his superior hand speed again to devastate Wolfe.
Hand speed and boxing ability. He's changing from body to head beautifully, throwing beautiful combinations. The few moments that he does flare in the middle of a round.
Wonder if Toney is surprised by the grittiness of Glenn Wolfe, who has taken a lot of punishment in brief spurts during the first 4 rounds and come back to deal out a great deal of his own.
Toney is like a musician who blows a few hot riffs and lays back, blows a few more hot riffs.
Good fight. Only thing I don't like is camp on them ropes.
And there is the main attraction in bout number 2 this evening. Big George Foreman, who weighed in at 259 pounds yesterday, to face Alex Stewart, who weighed in at 227. Foreman, who is the chef for the All Madden team, wearing his All Madden sweatshirt.
Once again, here is Toney with one of those furious fusillades of punches. Good left hand, and he follows those punches up. But he seems to tire quickly, Gil.
He must be tiring quickly because he flares again for 15, 20 seconds, and then he takes a timeout. I mean, I just don't understand that. I mean, he has so much more ability when it comes to boxing than Glenn Wolfe. Has the hand speed, the foot speed, but he gives it all up when he lays against those ropes.
Punch stat numbers through the first 4 rounds. Already Glenn Wolfe has thrown 100 more punches than Toney. Toney has landed 42 more than Wolfe. So James Toney is landing at a much, much higher percentage, but Glenn Wolfe has been the busier fighter, particularly inside. Good right uppercut by Toney starts things off right again in round 5. And you briefly saw Harold Letterman's unofficial scorecard on the screen. As Harold will tell us eventually, he has scored the first 4 rounds for James Toney. Neither Gil nor Larry agree with him, I think.
That's correct. I gave the second round to Wolfe.
As did Gil Clancy.
I gave the second round to Wolfe. And, you know, this is a very tough fight to score. We may get a great disparity with the judges. Are they going to like the guy that works for 3 minutes of a round, or are they going to like the guy that flares up brilliantly for 15 to 20 seconds?
Indeed. The classic scoring conundrum. One is more busy, the other is more accurate.
And hits harder.
Hot day in Las Vegas. Humid inside the Thomas and Mack Center. We may not need scorecards ultimately.
And you know, Jim, you had mentioned about the softness of the ring. That fact could really become a factor later in the fight. The last fight, James Toney got a cramp, his whole body cramped up, and in the last round, he was dragging his leg because it cramped up. And this is the kind of canvas that can cause that kind of muscular problems for a fighter. Well, because of the fact that it's giving too much, they can't bounce on it, they can't dance on it. They have to shuffle, and I think it's more adaptable to Glenn Wolfe's style.
It's like fighting on a mattress or a loosened trampoline.
I'm wondering why Toney is wearing spangles on his shoes since he doesn't do much dancing. It's sort of like spats on a St. Bernard.
Close quarters in the corner. Glenn Wolfe again dominating the action. Back to the center of the ring. And James Toney will set up the box.
Eventually, Wolfe is going to have to take that quick step back and try to nail Toney with a couple of good solid punches. Up to this point, they're all just little, more or less, short flurries, but not with too much power on them.
And in the center of the ring, you saw Toney sit back and pick Wolfe off with a left and then a right. And then he moved back up to the ropes again. Good left hand after the bell by James Toney.
And a big round for Toney.
Bring me the water up. All right, give me the phone. Deep breath. Not big. You took that round off, all right? But that's good. It's all right. In the air. Swallow a little. Next time, swallow. Mick, you gotta let the hands go on the inside. Right. All right. You got a good rinse? Yeah. All right? Mick, you gotta let the hands go.
Get this going. Get that left hand back there in the face. Then come with the hook off of it. Now, I haven't seen you do this all day. Hook and jab, jab and hook. Okay. With this hand here. Okay. All right. We got to pick up our pace a little bit now. Look, we want to start taking over now. All right?
Here we go. Check us out.
Yeah. Let's give Wolfe, some credit here. Big Bad Wolfe, as he calls himself. A wretched start to his life. In trouble with the law. Pulled himself together, bought a home upstate Florida, where he lives with his wife and children.
2 separate stints in prison kept him out of the ring for a 3-year period. But he was able to come back and rebuild his life.
Toney right now is dancing, trying to keep that distance between him and Wolfe. And again, Wolfe is persistently trying to press in, move inside, and bang to the body as he's doing now. But why Toney just doesn't spin him or dance out of there, it's not that difficult.
This will be a Mills Lane warning for a low blow to Glenn Wolfe. We're only midway through the bout. Both fighters do appear tired. But here comes another James Toney spurt.
And it's not just with the hands, it's with the legs. When he moves his legs is when he gets position on Glenn Wolfe. You can see him dancing around in. But when he stays flat-footed is when he has problems.
When he elects to move his legs for 10 or 15 seconds at a time, Wolfe is virtually defenseless against him.
Gets those angles, that's why. Now he's dancing. There you go.
Solid right hand over the top by James Toney. Wolfe, as anyone can see, takes a punch pretty well.
Question, how well does Toney deliver a punch, Gil?
Well, I really think Toney is a very, very good puncher, but when he makes up his mind that he's going to box, he starts to put his punches together, and he really doesn't get a lot of leverage on him. He's an enigma. Once in a while, he'll set flat-footed, and he can knock you right up into the ceiling, but there's other times when he just throws nice combinations, but with not too much power.
Do you think a lack of a consistent style hurts him?
I really think it does.
Glenn Wolfe pressing doggedly forward as again Toney gets on his toes and begins to box in the center of the ring and take over the bout. Now Toney shows you the second chapter as he leans against the ropes and absorbs punishment from Wolfe.
And Wolfe's problem is he's pressing, but he's not moving his hands enough. He has hit Toney with very few clean punches in the entire fight.
Halfway through a scheduled 12 rounds. Coming up later on this evening, a new look at one of George Foreman's increasingly diverse personalities.
I'm sure
Big
you all
George
know
as
that
candidate.
the 92 presidential race is heating up. But as you'll soon see, there's a new candidate making noise on the presidential front.
Just a preview of an upcoming feature between fights here on HBO Sports.
Back with the left hook behind him. But he's giving you that, take that shot, but the jab is the key. He keeps setting him up with that left hand. That keeps him off balance. Then you can come in behind the right hand, shoot the right hand, even if you miss it, back with the left hook. All right, let me see James Toney. Don't let him mug you, James. Stay off of them ropes.
Which James Toney? I guess even his trainer wants to see the real James Toney, Gil.
I would like to see 3 minutes of the real James Toney. I mean, he seems to have all the ability in the world. He can box, he can move, he's strong.
Well, for comparison purposes, gentlemen, what would a well-conditioned Marvin Hagler have done to Glenn Wolfe by this stage of the bout?
Well, as Larry had mentioned earlier on the program, Marvin Hagler is right now in a different league. Toney has to prove himself to be another Marvin Hagler.
Would Hagler have knocked Wolfe out by now?
Well, not necessarily. I don't think so. You know, but Hagler did have his own style. He knew exactly what he wanted to do in the ring, and he went out and did it. And you didn't see 2 or 3 different Haglers in the same round.
That's right. He was very, very consistent. And you had mentioned, would he have knocked Glenn Wolfe out by now? Remember, nobody has knocked out Glenn Wolfe.
That's right.
In fact, his skull got creased by a bullet, and the bullet lost.
Glenn Wolfe, about 5 months ago, was shot in a robbery attempt, and the bullet, which made contact with his skull, did not go through the skull bone. Instead, it ricocheted off and went through his hand and his finger. A part of his index finger has been rebuilt with bone from his hip. These are small obstacles for Glenn Wolfe.
And here goes Toney again, dancing on those legs, setting Wolfe up. Anytime he gets those angles, he does anything he wants to do, but then he gets flat-footed again.
Well, you can see why Glenn Wolfe, quote, doesn't like to box, unquote.
You know, if I was in the corner training James Toney, I think I would be really having a problem because you can see what he can do, and it just is so frustrating that he just doesn't keep on doing it.
Oh, solid right uppercut by Toney. He's had things even more his way in round 7 than through most of the rest of the bout. We're beginning to see a lot of swelling around the eyes of Glenn Wolfe as Toney becomes more and more accurate as the bout goes on.
We were talking about Toney's punching power. There was an example. He threw 2 jabs and a straight right hand. None of them, all accurate punches, but not that much on him. Then there'll be another time he'll settle down and nail you with one big punch, and it can be lights out, the kind of punch that he landed against Michael Nunn. He can punch, but it seems to change when he becomes a boxer.
Indeed, there are a lot of guys with some power, Iran Barkley among them, who couldn't do that with Michael Nunn. But Toney knocked him flat with a left hook.
It's clear that we're seeing an unusual talent, but one of the marks of a good young champion is whether he improves. And Toney is showing that he has some room for improvement even as he wins.
Give me a bat. Give me a bat. Okay. Give me the sponge. Give me the sponge. Sponge. Okay. Hands. Watch it. Thank you. Okay, give me all right? Yeah. Look at me. Open your mouth. I got it.
This is the Toney early in the round. A right, a left, and a right. 3 hard punches followed by a double right, Gil. And more.
And a left hook, everyone all on the mark. But that's the difference, Toney. That's the boxer. Then we get the guy that's the slugger.
Right.
We have 2, maybe 3 different Toneys in the ring.
Harold, how do you score the fight so far?
Larry, 69-64, 6 rounds to 1 favor James Toney. What I'm judging is who's doing the more damage. I mean, and it seems to me that James Toney in the flurries is just doing a heck of a lot more than Glenn Wolfe, who doesn't seem to have much leverage, much balance, and he's not landing clean, crisp shots. And his left eye's closing up. He's getting all busted up. So I think Toney's well ahead.
In round number 7, PunchStat computer numbers had James Toney landing 62% of his punches. Glenn Wolfe is landing down in the 20% range.
Glenn Wolfe just is not throwing enough punches. Here he's taking. Here's about a 20-punch combination by James Toney without a reply from Glenn Wolfe.
Well, this is what you call target practice.
Or the wolf at the door.
Wolfe is less and less competitive when they stand and face each other in the center of the ring. And now Toney appears to be playing possum against the ropes. I think Wolfe is probably too much of a veteran to fall for this. Crowd shows a little bit of disapproval for Toney's showboating. He lands a right hand over the top and begins another one of those flurries. Saw the right hand snap Wolfe's head back, and now Toney walks away. Boy, he's got a quick jab, Gil.
And also that quick right hand. He's having target practice with the right hand right now. The only chance I would say that Glenn Wolfe has right now is if Toney does cramp up or something else unforeseen happens, because I don't see any way that Glenn Wolfe can win this fight. And I'm going out on a limb. I've seen strange things happen in boxing, but it just doesn't look like that's going to happen here tonight.
You're out on a limb, Gil. We're not letting you get it off.
Okay, thank you. I don't think I'm going to have to.
Well, we may be seeing a lot of James Toney in the years to come, and there is certainly a lot of material in this personal story. We haven't even gotten yet to the subject of James's mother. Spoke about the powerful mother figure. A woman who, while raising her only child and after having been deserted by her husband, built a business and went to college simultaneously, gaining a master's degree, while establishing a thriving and successful bakery business in Ann Arbor. And And when James is home between fights, it's not unusual for him to mop the floors in his mother's bakery. Here he is mopping up Glenn Wolfe.
Mills Lane is going to have to take a look at Glenn Wolfe. He's really absorbing too much punishment at the moment. He's game, but he doesn't have much else to offer at this point.
Wolfe's trainer Al Banani called me this morning to say that he and his family members had bet the odds down from 8-1 to 5-1 on this bout. I hope they've got some savings.
Gotta let them hands go. Come on, Mike. Give me a towel or something. Here. Okay. Come on.
Water, Al.
Here.
Breathe through your mouth.
I need the other water bottle. There's no more water in this, man.
Come over to that.
Here, open your mouth. Open.
Okay.
Do me a favor.
Water here.
Swallow over there.
Ready for the end?
Mickey, you need a knockout. I'm telling you now. I'm telling you now, 3 rounds before it's over. This is round 9. You got 9,
There's
10,
Toney
11, and
again
12.
showing
You
his
got 4
stuff.
rounds. You hear me? You got to come
But
back
I'm
with a
afraid
different
he's
look. You hear Bobby yelling in the
belaboring the issue here because the issue does seem decided. You know, as we watch this again, sometimes you wonder maybe a young fighter gets to be a champion too soon before he's fully formed and perhaps knows everything he wants to do in the ring. Although if you're as precocious as this guy is, how do you stop him?
That's right. Is the guy had all these all the title fights in 1 year?
I think he's going to be an interesting and exciting fighter to watch develop over the next few years.
Well, I'd like to see him fight, for example, a Julian Jackson. But again, you know, he's a headstrong kid. He may decide after this fight that he doesn't want to make 160 pounds. He said it's quite a difficult task for him. And it's a good thing that he's the IBF champion. He was fighting for a WBC, WBA title. He'd have to weigh in the morning of the fight. And that would probably take a lot more out of him.
Julian Jackson, who had a knockout victory last night, a rematch with Mike McCallum, maybe Terry Norris if he comes up from 154. Those are the possibilities for Toney at 160 pounds. Maybe he wants to go to 168 to fight Nigel Benn in England or Iran Barkley here. But there would seem to be more money for him if he can stay at 160 pounds and try to join the ranks of legendary middleweight champions. One of the great traditional weight classes in the sport's history. Names like Marvin Hagler and Sugar Ray Robinson.
Wolfe really has to try something different now. Now he's going to have to give himself a little room. I mean, because he's smothering his own punches as well as James Toney's. And when they are on the outside, Toney is much too quick for him. There's a good left hook by Wolfe.
Best punch in a few rounds for Glenn Wolfe. Toney sort of stood still and gave him the opportunity, and now James moves immediately back to the center of the ring. You heard trainer Al Banani telling Glenn Wolfe between rounds that he needs a knockout in no uncertain terms.
There's no question about that, and he's not going to get it with these inside flurries. He's going to have to take a chance, try to nail James from the outside like then, instead of moving right back inside again.
Well, you know, Gil, my feeling is that at a stage of a one-sided fight like this, if the defeated fighter has taken a beating, and he really doesn't show any signs of being able to stop his opponent, I think we ought to seriously think of stopping the fight.
Well, that's why I mentioned last round that Mills Lane should really take a look at Glenn Wolfe, because it seems to be an action in futility right at the moment.
But what about the chance for a lucky knockout, guys? People who've been more badly beaten up than Wolfe have come back to win fights before.
Yes, I remember well Mike Weaver and John Tate.
But Weaver had knockout power, and this guy doesn't.
And coming up later tonight, two gentlemen with supposed knockout power. One George Foreman, the greatest knockout artist in the history of the heavyweight division. The other, Alex Stewart, a man who has had his chances but has not ever been able to capitalize on them. Looking for one big right-hand blow tonight against George Foreman. That'll be the second bout on this HBO World Championship boxing card.
That's what we ran up down the mountains for every day, right? Okay. Be smart. Be alert. All right, come on. Work now, baby. Work.
Glenn Wolfe tries to re-energize himself for round 10. 3 more frames in which for Glenn Wolfe to try to score the lucky knockout, which would reverse the tide against James Toney, who has been increasingly dominant in defending his middleweight title. To some degree, Toney needed a good showing today to wipe out whatever bad taste is left in the mouth of the boxing public by his controversial split decision victory over Dave Tiberi. Most ringside observers thought that Tiberi had scored the big upset.
James Toney is just too quick, too good a boxer, and has too much lateral movement for Glenn Wolfe. Wolfe is strictly a straight line fighter.
2 games for his own good.
Well, he actually, in my opinion, in this fight, he's 2 game for his own good.
Toney stumbles over his own feet. Not difficult to do on such a soft surface. Your feet have a tendency to sink in and stick in this ring.
Well, there I went out on a limb. He could have sprained his ankle and lost the fight.
There you go.
As long as the 2 guys are in there, anything can happen.
And that's the argument right there, keeping things going. What if while Toney had been stumbling there, Wolfe had reached out and landed a right hand?
Well, Wolfe is fighting at exactly the same speed all night long. I don't think that he really has the ability to jump in quickly and take advantage of a situation like that.
Boy, you said it all, Gil. Wolfe brings a whole new meaning to the term one-dimensional. He is a metronome, does the same thing all the time.
Sometimes, Gil, as you know, you see fighters who want to beat the opponents at their style, just to give themselves something to do.
Larry, I've seen that happen so many times in the ring. One guy will have a good jab, and the other guy who is known as a good inside fighter or a good guy with a good left hook, he wants to show everybody that he can out-jab the other guy.
It's a bad idea, right?
For example, the guy that I trained, George Foreman, when he fought Jimmy Young, he wanted to show me that he can outbox Jimmy Young.
He hasn't shown us that yet, has he?
And no, not the new George Foreman. This is the old George Foreman. And in the process, he tired himself out and lost the decision.
And decided to take about 10 years off.
Come on, Tom. Can you hear me? What are you doing? Let's go. I got it. I got it. I don't want to hit it. Come on, baby. We don't hit him. I got it. Listen to me. Listen to me. You won the last 2 rounds. This is round 11 and 12.
Both hands are hurt. Right. Both hands are hurt. That means what we got to box. All right. That means we're going to 6 rounds. Huh? 6 rounds. We got 6 minutes.
Harold Letterman, how do you have it scored so far?
Jim, 99-91, 9 rounds to 1 favorite James Toney. I think he's just mugging him with that beautiful straight right hand. He takes 1 step to the right where Glenn Wolfe's got that bad left eye. Toney takes that step to the right and whacks him with that straight right hand. He can't miss him with that straight right hand. He's hitting him all night. And Toney moves to his right beautifully for a right-handed fighter.
Punch stat numbers show Toney landing more than half his attempted punches in the bout. And he's gotten a little more busy as the bout has gone on.
Get off that neck. Wolfe.
Let it go. Let it go. 6 minutes.
Round 11, the round in which Toney dispatched Michael Dunn and won the title 11 months ago in a ballpark in Davenport, Iowa.
That's a tough place to lose a championship in your own hometown.
Almost happened to Evander Holyfield a few months later.
No, so many people think it's a big advantage fighting in front of the hometown folks, but it doesn't always work that way. You try a little too hard, you get a little tight, and you give a bad performance. I've seen that happen so many times.
Well, Toney, like so many prominent fighters, is likely to see more and more of his bouts taking place here in Las Vegas. He joins the ranks of people like Terry Norris and Meldrick Taylor and Pernell Whitaker, young fighters who have already won championships, but about whom we have to continue to ask, how good can they be? How far can they go?
The one thing about James Toney, he's a very pleasing fighter. You're not going to get a bad fight out of James Toney, no matter who you put him in the ring with. He can adapt to just about any style. Legs still look pretty good, bouncing around. Matter of fact, they look better than they did in the beginning of the fight. There you can see him moving around now. He's not being trapped on the ropes.
Wolfe trying to land a big left hand over the top, just not throwing hard enough to bother Toney. Moves away, reestablishes his position, and then outboxes Wolfe in brief flurries.
And you notice when Toney is throwing those flurries, there really isn't too much on the punch. They're very accurate punches, but they're not really the kind that get you out of there.
Now he's gotten quicker and quicker as he's gone to more and more quick, accurate arm punches. Could be that Toney accepted the observation early that he wasn't likely to get this guy out of here. And the optimum strategy would be to try to cruise to a 12-round decision.
Well, I think if he hadn't taken all that time off earlier in the fight when there was a lot of pressure, I think he could have gotten Ben Wolfe out of there.
So he didn't keep enough pressure on Wolfe early to set up a possible late knockout, is what you're saying.
That's the way I feel about it.
Wolfe just may be one of those guys, Gilly, you can't knock out. There have been guys like that.
There have been plenty of guys like that.
Let's go, champ. You the champ, show me. You need a knockout. Let's go. This kid. Thank you, man. Who's got the mouthpiece? Look.
Last round, champ. Last round.
The last round. The hands are sore. We want to finish up strong. You follow me? We ain't got but 3 minutes. Them hands work. I'll work them. Give me 3 good minutes, baby. All right. All right.
Let it go. 2, not just 1. We catch him. You can knock him down. This kid's tired. Come on, let's go.
You're all right.
Yeah, not more. Come on. Look it up.
Ready for round 12.
Be first.
That's enough.
Live from Las Vegas on HBO Sports, James Toney in the white trunks, defending his IBF middleweight title against Glenn Wolfe of Miami. The 6th title bout for Toney in 11 months. And according to our filters, you have to see the champion, Toney, being well ahead on points as they enter this last round. James Toney, who says he enters every fight visualizing in the eyes of his opponent the father who deserted him in infancy and for whom he has carried a burning inner hatred ever since. Toney, the man who is managed by a woman, his life guided by Sherry Toney, a spectacularly accomplished mother, who has come from unfortunate circumstances to raise a son who willed himself to become a champion in the ring.
You know, Glenn Wolfe is the lightest, the 154-pounder, and here's James Toney, probably weighs 167, 68. He's by far the quicker, has by far the better footwork, by far the better boxer. Look at the way he's picking Glenn Wolfe apart.
It's become a bit of an exhibition for Toney, who toys now with Wolfe in the closing minutes of the fight. When the bout is over, we will show you some of the baked goods that Sherry Toney brought to Las Vegas to give to all the boxing press and officials who are around here, helping to smooth her son's path toward greater eminence in the sport.
Yeah, but you never shared any of that box that you received,
Nope.
Larry or myself.
And you'll see why. That's exactly right. I didn't give you a bite.
I know. I'll have to go to Ann Arbor and buy them. Well, again, Glenn Wolfe, a one-dimensional fighter, a game guy. That's about all you can say about him in this fight.
Toney's next fight, Gil, likely to be a rematch with Mike McCallum. McCallum now 35 years old, one of the great veterans, one of the great fighters in the sport over the last 10 years. Would you give him a chance to take the title away from James Toney?
Well, Mike McCallum is a great fighter, and normally I would say the fact that Toney's been busy should help him, but I don't know. He may be a little burned out right now. May need a rest.
They've had a draw previously. They will almost certainly meet again. And here, James Toney finishes his 12-round tour of duty against Glenn Wolfe with what would appear to be an easy title-retaining victory.
I guess we all agree on that, and it may be more like a 12 rounds of torture, but it was torture he was willing to sustain for the opportunity to fight a middleweight champion. He stood upright for 12 rounds. He's a warrior.
Yes, he is.
Let's take a look at Harold Letterman's final scorecard for the bout.
A minute of a round.
Well, Jim, I got a 10-2, 118-110. I mean, there's no doubt in my mind that James Toney mugged him. I mean, he beat him up. He really gave him a whipping, landed the cleaner, sharper, better punches, did more damage, closed his left eye, did everything he had to do to win. The only thing was, I thought James Toney just, in the 11th round, he just started tapping him, and he wasn't throwing it with any power behind his shots. And they gave a round to Wolfe, but I don't think Glenn Wolfe deserves more than 1 or 2 rounds for showing up, and that's it. Really a big win for James Toney.
How many rounds did you give to Glenn Wolfe, Gil?
I gave the fight 10-1-1.
Right now, let's go to ring announcer Michael Buffer for the official decision.
You
Ladies
didn't
and
ask me
gentlemen,
Wolfe
here at the
or
Thomas
Toney.
and Mack Center, courtesy of the Las Vegas Hilton, we go to the scorecards. Chuck Jampa scores about 117 to 111. Glenn Hamada scores it 119 to 109, and Doug Tucker scores it 118 to 110 for the winner by unanimous decision, and still IBF middleweight champion of the world from Detroit, Michigan, James Lights Out Toney.
Final punch stat numbers, and you will see the accuracy of James Toney, who's given credit by Bob Canobio and Logan Hobson of punch stat for landing 53% of his blows in the bout. Glenn Wolfe down at only 18%, despite the fact that he was trying to fire from shoulder-to-shoulder range. Gil?
Well, he was smothering his own punches is what he was doing. And any time that James Toney wanted to land punches, he just put a little distance, went side to side and picked them apart.
And right now, let's go to Larry Merchant in the ring with the winner.
Okay, James, you seem to be wanting to cruise a little bit early, save yourself for the end. You were in against a guy with a terrific chin. Is that the strategy you employed, and how did it pay off?
Well, first of all, I want to say hello to everybody back in Ann Arbor, Michigan. Happy birthday to my boy Jimmy Griggs. And to Coach Mike Gillis of the University of Michigan, and Siobhan Hansen for helping me get myself back in shape. Thanks, baby. I love y'all. And Kevin, what's supporting all my little guys, Kevin Littlebis, I'm all right. The champ is back.
We don't do more than 15-second commercials on HBO, James. But tell us again, was it your strategy to lay back early in the fight?
Well, it was my strategy, but, first round, the guy got a tremendous hard head.
tremendously. Cause I hit him, I cracked him some good shots. The second round I hurt my left hand, and the fourth round I hurt my right hand. So basically what I had to do is just box, depend on my boxing ability, to give me, keep me out of his range.
So that you saw that he was going to be a difficult guy to take out on this night.
Definitely, because, I threw my right hand, I threw a punch as hard as hell. The guy got a good, strong head and chin.
At one point, your trainer said in the corner, show me the real Toney. Who is the real Toney? Because you seem to fight in 3 different styles.
Well, I can box, I can punch, I can mix it up a little bit. The real Toney he likes to see is the guy who likes to box and, confuse his opponents. And that's what I was doing, confusing him, boxing, dipping and dabbing, giving him feints in and out.
All right, what do you see in the immediate future? Jackie?
Okay, first of all, Dave Tiberi wants to fight again, but I don't know if that's really in the future.
Oh, he should have fought me tonight,
This should have been his fight.
Tell us about who is going to be there. Is it going to be McCallum?
I'd say McCallum. We have a good chance for July 18th on HBO, right back here again.
I got to say something. Last night, Don King was on Showtime talking a bunch of shit. Well, I got the best promoter in the world right here, Bob Bam. Now, Julian Jackson, if you can get from under Don King's skirt, come and sign the contract. I'm not signing no release with you, Don King, so come on, let your fighter go so we can get it on.
Thank you very much, James. And, of course, what he's saying is here is...
Don King, you ain't shit.
Everybody wants to see a unification fight between the middleweight champions, but next will be Mike McCallum for James Toney. Back to you guys.
All right, James Toney's references to the WBC middleweight champion Julian Jackson, incidentally. Of course, George Carlin notwithstanding, this is live over-the-air television, and we can't control the use of language here, so we hope none of you are too deeply offended by what is point of the realm in the boxing world. And we told you, incidentally, about the celebration that Sherry Toney, James Toney's mother, has helped to arrange for us. Gil, this is the sweet potato pie, the spicy pumpkin, the cherry bite, and chocolate chip, peach pie, peach and apple. You may only have one, but you can choose whichever one you want.
Yeah, but you took a bite out of each one.
I know. That's what's gummed up my
throat.
throat. That's why I can't speak so accurately tonight. Your final comments on James Toney?
Well, James Toney seems to me to have a tremendous amount of ability. It's just the idea of having him concentrate and harness that ability. He can box, he can punch, he's a tough guy. No reason why he shouldn't stay up on top.
You've seen Julian Jackson, who is regarded as a terrific power puncher for the weight class. How would you handicap that bout?
Well, that would be a real tough fight for both guys. Jackson's one of the few guys that has the power to take you out with one punch. But unless he did nail Toney on the chin, I think Toney would outpoint him easily.
Larry Merchant, your final comment on Toney's title defense.
Well, this is our first chance of seeing him, and what we can all see is this is a real talent. And as time goes on, he's going to get a bigger slice of the pie.
I should have seen that one coming as early as Wednesday.